Hey, welcome back. Sid Meier's Civilization VII. Revamping a game like Sid Meier's Civilization VII is easier said than done because there is a lot of comparison. And if you haven't played any of this entry at this 4x staple, it's incredibly nuanced turn-based strategy title without no two campaigns feel alike. In a typical civilization game, you take control of your civilization and lead it from the prehistory to the modern era, establishing new cities, setting social policies, trading resources, and waging war as so you go. With each campaign talking about 15 hours or so many variables going into how it plays, you might start to see the challenge of reviewing the game like this. So I just wanted to slap a big disclaimer that I'm a little bit biased of this series, so all the positives you should be checked down with the reality because you know I'm just a fine boy, so what else do you want from me? Let's get the elephant in the room out the way first. This particular entry to Sid Grand Works has been subject to controversy online, mainly because of Firaxis has shaken up the formula for the 7th release in the series. In the previous titles, you would select a leader tied to your civilization, such as Napoleon leading to the French. However, in Civilization VII, now you select the leader who remains constant throughout the 3 ages that you play, and then with each age you select a different civilization. This ends up with some funky history just playing out, where you could hypothetically have Benjamin Franklin leading Persia as they attack their neighbors for resources, Ming China as they traverse the seas looking for the new lands, and finally Prussia during a space race. This deviation in quite literally time-tested formula feels a little cookie, almost a bit wrong at the times, like microwaving ice cream to make it custard. And after all, it's not that what I expected to be clumping and choking down off, but it is still pretty sweet. I quite enjoy toying with the builds and looking at the ways either dominate the world throughout devastating ability unit combos or finding synergies to save it in a bit the reading or whatever scientists do. What have I preferred? The old leader system? Yes. The new system seriously detract from the experience. Now really, it's kinda weird, but I'm down with it if means to get more of that Sid crack. One of the biggest reworks in Civilization 7 outside of the leaders is how the ages work. Instead of seamless progression, every area is soft reset. This means you could be in the middle of intense war, moving of the rival's capital, and suddenly boom, the area is over. When you rejoin the map in the new age, everything has gently reset and you back at the square one. While you have to keep your territories, the resources have all changed. Independent states disappear unless you absorb them, and your relationship with the other players are mostly back to the neutral. I'd best describe its campaign feeling like a collection of loosely connected mini-runs. Experienced plays with years of muscle memory will need to return their instincts, and honestly, that's not such a bad thing. If game has a 7 in the title, it should be reinventing itself. It's not like a FIFA when you get the same game with the new team sheets. Although now I think of maybe having a Catherine the Great-led America is exactly that. Despite disliking the age changes is my first campaign, I found that more enjoyable once I started tracing the progress better and monitoring my objectives and the time it takes to complete them with a greater attention. The age of antiquity feels the most like civilization you may currently know. It's a mad dash to claim land, fight for resources, explore your home continent. Both finding and establishing new cities have seen as an overall while most units don't progress into the next age. Instead, your commanders take all the glory and retain their skill tree unlocks throughout the campaign. Utilizing those commanders is a significant upgrade when it comes to wagging war. You can pack regular units into a commander and move your armies as a group before embarking them into the front of your former allies. And City and Paglia and all those crepes titles or whatever you felt necessary at the time, having a centralized unit that can order attack while boosting the troops and round them is such a good idea, and it helps improve the flow of the battle. When we get into the exploration age, the things start to change more dramatically and the rules, the game, go from feeling familiar to something more alien. During this age, a new continent is revealed on your map, which introduces new civilization alongside with untapped resources. The focus is setting new land, which is again departure from the previous entries. Instead of planting a collection of cities around the map, you now establish towns, which can later be turned into the cities, or keep as towns and focus on specialty, like increasing food or happiness. Out of everything that Civilization 7 introduced, I felt like this was the most intuitive. If the last few sentences don't make any sense to you, fear not. Civilization 7 overall is all the elements including settlements really well, and Civilopedia novel pages is easy to open in browse game. While setting towns and making happy fishing villages sounds pretty chill, there is a healthy pinch of bleakness in the game colonial themes, especially in the age of exploration. Plenty of advancements and civic choices make this age, and paired with some lines read by Grodimol Christie, adding a much needed dose of the real world to digital pillaring. It's a tricky balancing act when the time for a whole section of the game is to colonize a new continent while trying to keep things fun. While the narrative balances it well, I don't have any question to the jovial soundtrack that looped as the laid waste to the new continent as Xyz lead Mongolia. The music is overall great, but it doesn't shift as dynamically as it did in 6, with more Mr. flute solos accompanying all of war. As for the final age, I found this to be the least compelling. Sure, I still couldn't put the game down when in the flow, but my runs meandered it a little towards the end. Usually by this time in the previous titles, I'll be deep into the diplomacy screen. However, Civilization 7 has downplayed the leader interactions in the diplomacy. I can understand they needed to refocus certain gameplay elements to fine-tune the new direction, but I'll be lying if I see didn't miss able to steal the Mona Lisa or trade prisoners for uranium. Feels like they've dropped some of complex system to make it entirely more approachable. To reiterate, my opening settlement maybe just had a couple of slow campaigns at this point, so I started launching out for the old strategies. Well, in the final thoughts, I should say this is the excellent turn-based strategy game, a civilization game. It looks and feels the same as predecessors, but with enough changes to leave long-time fans with something new to learn and hopefully cherish. At the time I felt the odds the decision, I always come back the fact I still enjoyed my time playing the Civilization 7, and I definitely will play it again. So the good things more than the bad things, but classical Civilization fans might not accept the new approach to the game. But for me personally, it is a new breath to the Civilization 7. Thank you. All the links are in the description. Subscribe.